A train wrecked to spin fire. The NFT analyzer, diving deep into projects. He's the crypto energizer. From mint coins to tokens, he's got all the intel. Web3 wizardry will show you where to excel. He's got the insights like a digital magician, unveiling secrets of the blockchain with precision. Wild stories from the web, he's always in the know. Crypto community, vibing where the treasures flow. Web3 wonders, chain reactors.
Hey, Mega GMs, guys, welcome to the Swarm Report. Man, this is gonna be a cool show here. Live with the boys from Sage. Is it Sage or Sage to Learn? Like, what's the official name? Oh, I got you muted. Hang on, I'm sorry. Hang on, let me unmute. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. What's up? All right.
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on? Welcome to the show, guys.
Yeah, you could just call it Sage.
Sage.
And the parent company is Formation Cloud.
Got it. Okay, cool. And that's something I think we'll get into as well, like background companies, structure, all that stuff. But first off, again, welcome. This, I think, unless I missed it, is your first like spaces talking about the project, is it? Or if I missed one?
Yep.
Oh,
We got another one planned for kind of like the 24 hours before we go live. So we have a ton cooking. We'll obviously go as much as we can into it. Obviously, we got to keep some things confidential for now as well.
Must. Yeah, you got to save some of the spice for the AMA there, which is pretty darn cool. Let's kick it off with maybe some an introduction. If you want to give a quick intro, who you are, and maybe a quick little blurb about your backgrounds.
True. You want to kick it off? You're on mute.
Yeah, I'm Andrew Smith. I'm down for Formation.
Go ahead. It seemed a little lagged. Maybe it was just me.
No, there's a little something off.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but there's a lag. It's just like I see your lips moving, but then it doesn't come through. You want to try? I don't know if you have a different mic setting or if you want to try to connect and disconnect or disconnect and reconnect.
It's through my laptop mic. So
yeah, you can even try killing the video. Maybe that helps. But it does. Yeah. Like I hear you at least. That's all that matters.
Okay.
Is this better now?
I think so. I hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm Andrew Smith. I'm the founder of Formation.
Yeah, it's not, bro. It's not really. It's cutting in and out. Do you have? Is there anywhere you could get better signal?
Kind of lead tech at.
I got an idea. I got an idea here. Why don't you try this? Why don't you hop over on the Spaces side? Maybe it'll work better over there. Do you want to give that a shot?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay. Because everybody will hear you over there, and you'll hear everybody here. But give that a shot. If you go over to my account, it's Hudah_idiot. There's a Spaces there. If you just join, did he already pop out? Okay. He can just request and we'll hear him through there. So that works. That works. Any of you guys want to kick it off while we're waiting for him? And by the way, I see you guys all here. Carbon, good morning. Bunny, good morning. Choina GMs. Who? Gravity GMs. Alizar. JJ, good morning. I'm sure we got cats on the way here soon. Everybody's hyped for this, by the way. Everybody's itching to hear about Sage because Dan, you're one of the ones that send us into season 3 here, I think. So
yeah, I fully agree. So why don't I kick it off first, and then once Drew gets back on, he can pick it up from there.
Perfect.
Sound good. Cool. So my name is Wes. I'm Drew's co-founder. Drew's actually our CEO. I guess before we get into Sage, I'll kind of give you my background. Also, we have Jim up here. If you want to say hi, Jim.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Yeah, I'm new to the squad, drinking from the fire hose. So I'll let Wes and Drew, speak more specifically to the project. But 8-year crypto veteran, super excited about the team, super excited about real utility on chain. So I'll let them describe the detail.
Yeah, so
Hey,
Jim
the
just joined our
setup.
team. We have a team of about 9 people. Jim just joined our team to run ecosystem and partnerships. So a lot of the other virtual teams in the eco, you'll be hearing from Jim. He'll be kind of reaching out and coordinating things. But yeah, before we get into it, so my name is Wes. I'm a co-founder and COO. Drew, who I think is on our the spaces now, he'll intro himself in a minute, is our CEO. A bit of my background: I've been in crypto for quite some time. I used to run like a dev shop. We did like software and application development, and built some really early DeFi analytics software that I sold to this company called Valkyrie. So had an exit there, had to work there for a year after that, built their full on-chain infrastructure. And then I launched Juice Finance, which was a pretty successful company in the Blast Eco. We hit $500 million of TVL. To be honest, I think this thing would have been worth billions of dollars, but the whole Blast ecosystem kind of fell apart. The Blast Eco had like a 98% drawdown. So, you kind of do your best. And we did become like the top DeFi app in the ecosystem. We ran a really strong playbook of bringing it to market, partnerships, etc. But, sometimes the forces around you are just a little bit too powerful. Nothing really survived that Blast drawdown. So, after I kind of sold the company and then did a really successful one as well, and I've also done a bunch of work in the Bitcoin space, wanted to really get deep into AI. I'm really technical, but I've never worked in AI and ML. Drew, who's our co-founder and CEO, has been AI and ML for 15 years. He's also built some really other successful AI companies. But before we get into Sage, Drew, are you there now? You want to kind of intro yourself?
Yeah, it should be over
I'm
here
here.
on space. Yeah, we got you. Good shit.
All right.
Let's go.
Is the audio better?
Way better.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what that was. Yeah, so my name is Andrew Smith. I'm the co-founder of Formation, and as Wes kind of alluded to, most of my career has been spent as machine learning and AI engineer. Prior to going full time in Web3 and in crypto, I built a data as a service company that was powered by AI. Sort of started out as traditional natural language processing and token processing. And then, in 2018, when the BERT models were dropped, which, if you're a close follower of the AI movement, BERT was sort of the precursor to GPT and some of the more modern large language transformers. We switched all of our technology over to BERT. We had, over 90% accuracy in, gathering and structuring data, and, basically built a really, really successful company around that. While I was there, it hit over 17 million in ARR. And then in 2020, I stepped aside, mostly personal reasons. But my co-founder there is still running that company. It's still going well. Still own some equity in it, still on the board there. Haven't exited quite yet, but it's a really, really successful business. And moved over here to start building Formation. And originally Formation was sort of a pure play decentralized compute product. But when DeepSeek dropped, it really kind of changed everything. If you think way back to sort of November of last year, just under a year ago, there really weren't top-notch, high-quality open source models. So if you wanted to really accomplish something in AI, you kind of needed to use the closed source models as really Anthropic and GPT. DeepSeek really changed that. You had, open source reasoning models that were large, that had large context windows, and it really just kind of changed the game and opened up opportunities for us to build something that I think is really unique, and we'll dig into more throughout the course of this stream.
There we go. Beautiful stuff. You got very accomplished guys, right? Have done some serious work here in the space, and it sounds like outside. So super impressive.
Yeah, we also have a stack team. Aside from that, we have me and Drew are technical. Plus, we have 4 other very, very senior devs, really, really accredited from really, really good universities, have been part of really, really solid projects. We have ecosystem lead. We have multiple community managers plus a Discord team. So really, yeah, we're at about like 9 people right now on the squad.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's like, okay, I say this most of our streams. When you hear the teams talk, it's why it's important that teams come on a show and people get to meet you, right? Like you hear that there's on some of these teams a different kind of quality, and those are the teams I'm betting on. I'm betting on guys who can build, have like a history of being able to do it. You can hear how competent they are, and you can bet on those guys, right? Because there's a lot, right? There's enough of them, but there's also a lot that are not. And so it's great for people to get to see you and meet you and hear that background. It's going to get spicy.
Yeah, and just before we get we definitely appreciate that. We're also backed by Jump Trading, Republic, and Big Brain, a Hyperrhythm, and a bunch of other really strong partners in the space. So excited to kind of have the right backing and the right team to go to market.
Well, man, you're about to wipe out all of the points in circulation next week. I think that's kind of obvious already. So looking forward to that. Look, okay.
Yeah, I just want to add to that, Hudah. It's like, it's really, really easy these days to just go ahead and launch a token. But like having a actual product that drives value for that token long term, as we've seen throughout the past, not just in the AI space, or the AI times crypto space, but in crypto in general, it's much more difficult to like build a high quality product that drives value for that token. And so, one of the things that we really, really care about is delivering a really high quality product that even people that are not that familiar with virtuals, people that are not that familiar with the crypto times AI space will find the product and will really, really like it.
I believe it. It's going to happen. Next week's going to get pretty incredible. We don't know much about Sage yet, right? Like I think we got the Genesis launchpad, placeholder here. And it's educational ACP, the lead of that everybody like instantly everyone's like, okay, we've got something serious here.
Yeah. So I think happy to really dive into the details of what Sage is. And we have a pretty heavy content calendar that we start rolling out probably like starting tomorrow and then every day till the launch. We're kind of just been like a lot of moving parts. I think before we get into Sage, it's a good idea to just like discuss what formation is and kind of where Sage came from. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's great.
Cool. So formation could form the fog right there on the Sage logo right there. Form the fog. And that's kind of like our slogan. So Form the Fog was initially developed to be kind of like decentralized compute infrastructure. And we were building that. But once DeepSeek came out and a lot of these open source LLMs came out, we realized that we had a stack that could be used instead of decentralized compute for model optimization, inference optimization, GPU optimization, et cetera. And we really went full pivot to where we own our own GPUs, full inference and GPU optimization, fine-tune models, full deployment and hosting of models. So it's a whole middleware and hardware stack fully that we have complete control of. And as we were kind of going to market, we thought, the best thing to do would be to launch an agent from us first to showcase really what we're capable of. And when we started talking about it, Andrew, his mom's a teacher. He's our CEO. A bunch of us have kids on the team, and all of our kids over summer, literally everyone's obsessed with AI at our company, obviously. And all of us have our kids on AI and AI education. And they're not learning AI. They're they're all at different ages, but they're all using AI to learn math, to learn reading, to learn science, to learn something, right? Literally all of us have their kids. And what we all noticed, every single one of us, was that when we put our kids in AI courses instead of tutors or traditional school or reading books, their pace of learning just took off tremendously. And it was honestly, all of us noticed the same thing at the same time. It was unbelievable. And we realized there was just about to be a massive disruption in the $380 billion online EDU space. So with that being said, we're like, what? A few of us have relatives and parents that are teachers. We all have a bunch of us have kids, all of them in AI courses. We're all super passionate of it. This is a perfect thing to develop. And we just really started shifting all of our resources, develop the best possible agent in the EDU space because we thought it was just like absolutely ripe for disruption. We started building it substantially, but before we started talking to virtuals. Initially, we thought it would kind of be like a bit of a standalone app. We weren't really sure where we would launch it. We just were just super passionate about building a really, really strong agentic disruption to learning. And to kind of get into like how Sage works, really, really interesting versus like the standard things you might find at like Udemy or something like that. How Sage works is the goal of Sage is for you to be able to learn any subject. And how it works, you interact with Sage, you start talking to Sage, you tell it what you want to learn, and Sage tries to get a good idea of what you want to learn and why you want to learn it. So what level you're on, why you want to learn it. Is it professional? Is it casual? Is there a goal? And then once it has an idea of what you want to learn and why you want to learn, it does deep research on any subject, and it builds custom curriculum and interactive tests and modules on any subject you want, right? And when it builds it, what's interesting is it's not building the entire course structure all at once. It's building module at a time. And then as you start doing your interactive courses and your tests and your activities, it understands where you might need more help, what you might want to change for the future, and continues to layer on module over module over module. So it's completely custom, anybody's pace, anybody's course, any subject that you can kind of tweak as you learn. And we think it's a much better way of learning than anything out there right now. Another part which we think is going to like really move this thing is like beyond making everything super custom. You also, every single course that you create, if you would like, you could save, and then you could offer for other people to take. Right. So on top of being able to learn anything, create custom interactive modules on any activity, if people really want to take the time to put really, really good courses together, they could then start monetizing those courses. Right. So we think this goes far beyond an education platform, and it turns into like a creator platform and a creator economy as well, where people can then monetize their courses by letting other people take them, encouraging them to take them. And then as other people modify those courses, it makes a fork of each course, right? Because each course is like, it's not like Udemy where it's a straight line. Everything is malleable, right? Everything, if you need more help in a certain direction, you could build another module on top of it. And it kind of creates like forks on forks of courses for people to continue to like monetize, share, and hopefully revolutionize learning globally. But we have massive plans for this. We think this can be a tens, if not larger, millions of dollars of ARR on this thing. And we're putting a ton of resources and budget behind taking this thing to market.
This is wild. So I have education is in our family to a degree too. My brother has worked in academia for decades at this point. He's the dean of research at FSU, and he's always been looking at blockchain for how that can power up and leveling up the experience there. And man, I always thought how cool education would be in a decentralized structure, just to get, people who don't have the opportunity to go to a good school. It can get them there. The fact that it's online and maybe there's some like anonymous, a nature to it too. Again, just levels the playing field, and that I'm excited for. I didn't even think of like the agentic part of it though. I didn't see a few years back when I was thinking of this stuff that agents were going to really power this thing too. So
it was. We agree. It was like a eureka moment. We just happened to sometimes, luck and timing. It just happened to be summer, the beginning of summer, when we were all building this and all of our kids were taking these courses in AI, and we were seeing how it was affecting. I think sometimes you work really hard and then sometimes timing and luck just really falls into your lap. So obviously we're rolling everything out in stages. I think that once we saw what this could be and what resources, we started figuring out like where we're going to launch this thing. And that's really where virtual is coming. I've been in a lot of the team is very Web3 native, and I've been in the virtuals ecosystem for multiple seasons as well. A pretty big holder of different coins at different times. So I'm Sir Yield a lot. That's my account right there. And we talked to a few ecosystems, actually. We talked to a few chains. We considered launching it outside of any ecosystem as well, just because we have enough of a backing and enough of a reputation. Formation already has like 40,000 followers, and we have a lot of people kind of like waiting for that to come out. But we have this belief that Virtuals has this super like narrow vision, not narrow, but just like really aligned vision, where they believe that they want to continue to push forward in like the agentic economy. And maybe that turns into robotics and things like that. But you talk to a lot of these like blockchains, these L1s or L2s that want a project like ours, and they're just all over the place. They're not exactly sure what they want to be or why they want to be it. And you talk to some of the other ecosystems, even that are launch pads, and they're not really sure like where they'll be long term. But when you talk to the Virtuals team and you talk to everyone in the community, they're just so laser focused in on building the strongest agentic economy out there. And we think that everything we're building at Formation, where we don't want to get into tokenization, right? We want to get into middleware and launching and partnering with companies like Virtuals. We just want to align with someone that has the same vision as us and a community that has the same vision as us. So when we spoke to Virtuals, we still weren't really sure about it, to be honest with you. And then we know Cons. I know Cons personally, who's the guy's an absolute rock star and also just like a great dude. I'm sure a lot of you guys know who he is, but like you guys don't really get to know him personally. He's just like a real genuine good dude as well. He connected us to the Virtuals team, and Virtuals saw what we were building. And again, sometimes luck and timing, they happened to be really interested in launching a EDU cluster, and they wanted a strong team to kind of come in that had core infrastructure to kind of like build it out into something special. And the stars aligned. And when they told us they wanted us to lead, they were up for us leading the EDU cluster. We couldn't commit fast enough at that point. We thought it was like, we appreciate, I've been in the Virtuals ecosystem long enough where I know what type of honor it is to actually lead a cluster. We were super excited about the opportunity.
Yeah. It's just one of those things out of the many reasons we all love Virtuals. It's because, like you said, they're laser focused. They've got this vision. They know what they're doing, and they're full throttle, but they're so great at identifying great things. And so they did it with Axelrod, picking him as the head of the, autonomous hedge fund. And I think Solace is going to be the head of the, kind of wellness cluster. But, it makes, okay, we hear these guys talking now, right, guys? And they talk to you and they see it and they're like, this is it. This is going to be the head of the educational cluster.
And we want to work with the wellness cluster, by the way. We think there's a lot of opportunity to do like education and wellness together. So a lot of these clusters, we have a lot of plans and we could get into how we're thinking about integrating with ACP and the different teams out there. But yeah, we agree. It's a huge honor. We, like I said, like I know that there was like some people like leaving Genesis and this and that. Like we're super committed. I think what teams will notice is just like this is just the start for us. And a lot of what we're going to be building on Formation is really deep tie-ins to Virtuals, helping teams really launch effectively through something like Virtuals, giving them access to a bit more models and really doing deep tie-ins to ACP and game and building things out of the box that people could use. And there's going to be a lot of tie-ins to Sage and Formation as well, as I'm sure you guys could kind of guess kind of what that means. Well, but
so at the start, what does this look like when Sage launches? What kind of features are available? Will we instantly have that ACP cluster with some functionality?
So as soon as Sage launches, the initial app goes live where you're kind of learning anything and creating courses. The next thing we're kind of rolling out, like you'll be able to save your courses, and then shortly after you'll be able to start then like other people taking your courses and monetizing, and kind of we really want to push hard on giving a ton of incentives to creators coming in and building courses and them marketing their courses in Sage to other people, and we think we can get like a really viral effect. I'll also say we're spending a lot of money on advertising as well. Crypto Twitter probably won't see much of the advertising. We love that we're getting this like 0 to 1 start for kind of like going live, but the vast majority of our advertising you'd be seeing on TikTok, Instagram, really going out after broad users that to use Sage. So, we know a lot of teams like market to try to move price up. Like we believe this will be a real business And if we can make this thing into worth hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars as a traditional business, this token, this whole project will be worth a ton.
Nice.
So we're not trying to just like grift people to buy the token. We're actually trying to market this thing as a real business.
Again, can tell, excuse me, can tell just from how you speak on this that this is, first off, monster potential in a sector. I think what was the number, 300 something billion?
380 billion, which is just online education, by the way. Obviously, global education is much larger than that. That's just the annual online education sector.
Wow. So are people going to interact with these courses? I don't imagine through ACP, right? You're using Butler and you're probably getting some more, quicker answers, quicker things. Is that on your platform here on like sage.guru?
Yeah, so that would be on Sage. Let's go into like how ACP is going to work and how we envision that. We have devs already integrating with ACP. We're kind of integrated with their SDK right now. So ACP has they have like an SDK that like you can kind of work with in private as well prior to going live. And how our ACP integration, and look, I think a lot of this stuff, virtuals is so new. And I know it's been around for a while, but ACP is what are we, like 3 months in right now? It's like nothing, like 2.5 months. I don't remember the launch date, but it's all pretty recent. So I think a lot of things will evolve in time, but how we're thinking about it right now is, we want other companies to interact through us and put in requests, and they'll request us to build custom interactive training modules for different agents, different sites, different apps. We're going to be putting together a bunch of interactive modules for virtuals and for ACP and how to launch agents through the infrastructure. So we're talking to virtuals about supporting them there. And then when a team requests us to build some like interactive education infrastructure for their platform, they'll be able to interact with it through Sage, or we'll expose an API where they could just do like a smooth integration where they don't have to come to our site or our app, and they'll be able to kind of host everything, or not host everything, interact with our API and display everything themselves. So, they don't have to kind of send their traffic to us. That we're just kind of like helping them put together good interactive infrastructure so people could learn how to use some of these agents, some of these sites that are often quite complicated for people to figure out. And it's interesting with Sage, like we could do deep learning and do any subject, or with Sage, we could create the custom modules based on any knowledge base that you give us. So if a team wants to specifically give us docs that are online or offline, or PDFs or whatever it may be, or a GitHub, we could digest anything that somebody needs and create, or a mix, right? We could do like a mix of saying like, this is the knowledge base you want us to focus on, plus this topic, right? So it's really, really custom of kind of like what we can build.
Well, what's the Sage agent's personality going to be like? Because to your point earlier, you found your kids were so much more engaged and they were learning so much faster. And part of that is because personality and because it's so responsive. But like, what's the Sage personality to be dialed like?
Yeah, I think right now we're not trying to make it too quirky. We're really trying to make it like education and kind of scientific. Like even science. A lot of people aren't going to use it for science, but like we're trying to keep it pretty. I would say professional, but kind of like as you would in a class. We're not trying to make it too quirky.
Sure. Yep. Okay. And also that comment earlier, it didn't surprise me, and yet it did, because my kids also use AI. I think they're using AI to cheat at school as opposed to like really learn. And every kid's making that choice now. You go one or the other, and the ones who use it to learn they're going to be set up in a really, really great spot. But that was really cool to hear, though, how fast they're learning. And maybe that even ties into, homeschooling. And, there's these studies that show us kids who homeschool can really get ahead really fast. And this takes that to a whole other level, right?
When I have more kids in the future, I already, I'm going to homeschool all of them, honestly. Like it's unbelievable, the tools at your fingertips right now. And again, we think this is like a sector ripe for disruption.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Okay. Now, if there's a course out there, a curriculum that I'm going to go in and sign up and take that course, is there a fee for me taking that course? I would assume there would be.
Yeah, so it's going to be basically like a freemium style app, which you see a lot in this space. So there'll be some courses, especially some of the pre-made courses, that you'll be able to take, and maybe we'll open it up. We'll probably open it first so people can kind of like play with it and really understand it. Since we do own our own GPUs, we own a bunch of H100s, H1200s, and Blackwells. Inference is really cheap for us because we already put up the upfront money of like buying the GPUs. So we could kind of we could do like a decent amount of subsidizing people at first. So we're going to probably let people kind of dig in and play with this thing, assuming it doesn't get insanely viral too quickly. And once everything really gets rolling, though, yeah, there'll be kind of like a freemium version where you'll be able to kind of like interact with some of the top pre-made courses, maybe do a little testing of making your own course. And then if you want to start becoming a creator and taking a lot more courses, there will be like a monthly fee associated with this. And then you could kind of buy more and more credits, or like basically if you want to do like more aggressive learning or make more courses, because obviously it does take a decent amount of inference to generate all this stuff. And then part of what you consume, that revenue will go back to the initial creators, right? So basically the creators will be monetized by which courses you consume your credits through, and so on.
And this probably gated in the Sage token. Will that be the utility of the token?
Yeah, so the Sage token is going to have a decent amount of utility. So one, we do want this to be open to the general public. So we will accept credit card as well, but everything we do will be much more cost effective to use the Sage token, right? So Sage token will provide discounted payments for everything that we do. There definitely is going to be some incentive for the Sage token we'll use to kind of like incentivize creators as well. And then we're going to have a pretty heavy staking program, a lot of tie-ins to Formation as Formation comes down the pipe. And other things that you're going to start hearing about Formation. Again, what I would say is, Sage is going to be a real business. Formation, there's going to be a bunch of like interesting use cases for the Sage token, especially if people want to start like white labeling this thing and what that's going to cost and fees. And if we think this thing could get to the revenue of what we actually think it can be, there's going to be a lot of kind of Sage token utilized to just hire this thing to be able to run courses, to pay monthly fees, to white label, etc. But what I would say, without getting into too many details, keep in mind what I said at first, like a huge part of what Sage was to showcase what we're capable of with Formation, what's coming down the pipes.
Yeah, man. Okay, I have a ton of questions. Actually, let me get to Kat's question first, because I think it's great. We were just talking about token. I love that you guys stuck with Genesis. I love it, right? And I like both of these types of launches, but why Genesis versus prototype for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that from our point of view, we didn't go to virtuals to like make a quick dollar. I'll be like honest, both me and Drew, the co-founders, have both been really successful in our career. And we're both super lucky to have a lot of people that are willing to support us. And also we've done well for ourselves. We came to Genesis because I think in these apps, like it's often easy to go 10 to 100, but it's really hard to go 0 to 1, right? To get that first bulk of people that want to be like interested in your product and use it. And I think for us, Genesis wasn't really about like the launch mechanic. It was really about like building an initial community of people that are going to hop on here, use our app to figure out if they want to continue to hold our token or buy our token, give us feedback, build a community, share, get other people to use it. And I think from our point of view, it was that 0 to 1 distribution, that community. And then like, obviously we're super Web3 native. So we believe in tokenization. So we're going to do it anyways. So why not target the community that's the top community focused on agents in Web3? And then again, the virtuals team has been like absolutely phenomenal to work with. Again, like a lot of what we're going to be building with Formation is going to be deep integrations into a lot of things coming down the pipe for virtuals. And we couldn't ask for a better team to work with. They've been unbelievably supportive in so many ways.
Man, I just like, as we talk, it's marinating and I'm sensing all these like different paths it can go down and they all seem viable. Could we see one day Sage in a like an IRL classroom and helping teach students, even teach them about how to use AI?
Oh yeah. I mean, look, at my kids' school, like they're starting to roll out AI and like my thought is like, I want to get this in a classroom first that like my kids are in, and then kind of like take it out from there. But yeah, we have massive aspirations for what this thing could be.
Yep. It's again so spicy. The other thing was, it kind of hit me too, is okay, when I think education, I'm thinking like kind of more typical classes, like a science module and a math one, and all, different levels of math and history and religion, all these things. But also I'm like, man, we got all these projects out here in crypto across all these different sectors that probably don't do a good job teaching and explaining what their product is.
Right.
And I imagine if you got the right creator, they can go and build out a module that teaches people, like a CryptoSlam. We could go and have one that teaches people like how to use the site and what for and why this matters. And like, again, an instructor that walks you through the platform and teaches you.
Right. And, if you want to just build something on Sage and be able to offer it up, like absolutely. But if you want to build something that you could actually integrate directly on your site through an API, so they don't even have to go into the Sage agent, you would hire us through ACP, right? Hire us through the Virtuals ecosystem. And then we will expose it as an API, and you could really do like a deep integration.
Now, could somebody hire you to help build out that curriculum, or is that on the creator entirely to build it?
We'd prefer to put on the creators. So I'm sure we'd have like highlighted creators and creators that we'll have great relationships with, but we'd prefer that to be on the creator side. We want to be building the infrastructure.
Yeah, makes sense. What about even like a music tutor or a music teacher? Could we see that in the Sage ecosystem?
Yeah, it could. We could see something along those lines. I think there's look, I think we're trying to do something massive here. And again, like I think we'll do the token, we'll do well, but like honestly, we're not super like our concern is like the longevity of this project. So I think, look, everything will improve in time. I think people are going to love Sage when it comes out. But it's also like, our V1, and then we'll have our V2 shortly after, V3, V4. And we're not going to be one of those projects where it's just like comes out and like, that's the agent. Like we will constantly be shipping updates from very, very, very early on.
Yep.
So.
Okay. Very, very cool. Okay. Now, if you and I are taking the same course, whatever it may be, because it's AI, are we going to have the exact same experience, or because it can kind of personalize to the person, will I potentially go down a different path of learning with that one specific, module?
Yeah. So if you're taking a course somebody else created, right, it will start as the same course. But as you progress through it and you need to make new modules to figure out like what you need to learn and what you want, then it will start customizing based on what you need, where you're at, what your level of learning is, etc.
So is that the agent that's then like generatively building the next module, or is that the creator that's building it, or a little both?
No, that's the agent.
That's bonkers. That's bonkers. This is kind of like a choose your own adventure book from, when I was a kid. It's like you start here, but the path you go down is up to you and your answers and what it is you need to learn. That's wild.
I think people will use it for continuing education. Like, you know what I mean? Continuing to come back as the world changes, come back to the same course and tell it to understand what happened in the world. And then, we'll continue to learn and continue to adapt.
And I think that is an extremely important piece to this, is like, because this is an agent, a lot of times you'll go to like a Udemy or YouTube or whatever, and the video you're watching or the course you're taking is 2 years old. Yeah. Well, everything changes so fast now. It's like if you're taking a course that's 2 years old, you're missing the most recent information, and you're missing it by a pretty wide mark. And because this is agentic, it can go out and gather the most recent research. It can go out and gather the most recent knowledge base. You can even contribute a knowledge base to it. And I think that's a place where potentially ACP comes in as well. Where Sage can be a buyer of custom data and custom knowledge bases. But you're never going to be 2 years behind when you're taking a course on Sage. You're going to be getting the most recent information, the most recent knowledge integrated into your course. And so you could take the course today, and in 2 years come back and refresh your memory, but with all of the stuff that's occurred in the previous 2 years. So you're not falling behind. And I think that's really, really important, because things do change, and they change quite rapidly nowadays.
Yeah, that's a huge point there. That's just, wow. Do you have goals of being becoming like an accredited school? Like a place you can go learn and you earn real credits.
Yeah, I think that's, maybe in time. I think that if you look, there's so much we could accomplish. You look how big some of these older companies like Udemy are and things like that. I think going the accredited route probably isn't in the near term future. I'm not sure. That's not something we're really thinking about.
Sure.
We would prefer to support accredited institutions and build
Correct. Yeah, I think
that makes sense.
This is a good spot to kind of go back to one of the questions you asked earlier, Hudah, which I wanted to weigh in on, which is, whether or not Sage will be integrated directly into the classroom. Well, I think what you're going to see, how that's going to work, is that teachers, professors, TAs, etc., they spend a massive amount of time lesson planning out the curriculum, and then after they deliver tests and see the results, they have to go back and say, okay, well, my students didn't really understand this, and customize and reemphasize certain things. That's an area where on the back end, sort of behind the scenes, Sage can really help educators. And those educators can not only use Sage to improve their in-classroom teaching, but they can then monetize those courses directly on the Sage platform, and they can earn additional income from that as well. So I think that that's probably more of how you'll see Sage integrated into the classroom, as opposed to like Sage becoming its own accredited university, which, like, frankly, like, I don't really know how valuable that is anymore. I think more and more people are realizing that, like, getting an accredited degree, except for outside some certain professions where you really, I really want my doctor to have a medical degree, right? I want my lawyer to have a law degree. But there's so many professions nowadays where you don't really need a degree, and there's so much you can learn before you get the degree, that kind of the degree is like, it's a nice piece of paper to prove that you went through the process. But being accredited is kind of losing a lot of the value that it once had. And part of that is just because so many people now get degrees, right? Like the supply side of degreed labor is much higher than it used to be. I think what's more important for Sage is to really capture the imagination of the creator economy and kind of all of these people that are out there that are building and teaching courses, which is a massive market. Bring them to Sage to help increase their productivity and increase their timeliness, so that you're getting these courses right after something changes. JavaScript version 10 comes, or version, I don't know what it's on right now, 23 or 24 comes out, right? Like, you don't want to wait a year to then take the course right before version 24 comes out. Like, you want to have that information right away. And that's just difficult to do without AI. Like, you're going to have to sit down and plan it out and build out the course and record videos and do all of those things. Well, Sage makes that dramatically easier. You can do that in a couple of days now, as opposed to weeks or months. And so I think, like, really empowering these course creators to build top-notch, up-to-date, fantastic courses that people can then not only take, but can fork off of and go down a path that really suits them, that's customized to them. That's really where Sage's superpower is going to be discovered.
How's my background sound right now? Can you guys hear me clearly?
It's great. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So yeah, I wanted to add on to that as well. Like yourself, my wife is a school teacher in Denmark, who has a drastically different system than we have in the U.S. And I think that, Andrew made a really good point, but I just wanted to add to it that there's the whole social element of learning and being around your peers in the real world that I think can and never should be replaced. And we watched the negative effects of that through COVID, when like test scores dramatically fell. And so having that real world, in a true experience with your peers, the kids around you, a real teacher, like, that can never be replaced. And that social learning is super powerful. But the ability to learn with a degree of relevance about the thing that you care about, and there's a why associated with what you're learning, is the thing that helps you remember something, right? Because you're genuinely curious about it. And that's the beauty of these specifically curated courses, that leverage your personal data and your feedback to iterate and give you, a real leg up. So I think, at the Andrew's point, the combination of, real time information, and as we learn, as a species, what is objectively true about the world, right? It's hand fed to you in a way that's digestible personally for you. And, that's never existed before. So I'm as excited about it for myself as I am my kids.
Yeah, and just to add, I think you can hear, like, obviously his wife's a teacher, Drew, who's our CEO, his mom is a teacher, so he has just a ton of passion and just grew up kind of like understanding a lot of what going in what kind of like a teacher pain points might be, and just like Drew's also just like super into education overall. But I think one thing that's really interesting, what you start seeing, like when you start learning with AI and typical education, like you need like a teacher or a parent, and really like trying to like correct your mistakes as you go, because you don't want somebody to go on to the next plans until they really understand prior plans. And what you find really interesting when you're learning in AI, it's more supervision, and you just make sure it's being done. And when you use something like Sage, it's really unique because you're not supposed to correct the student. You're supposed to let the student make the mistakes that they're making. And then you're supposed to let the AI understand where the person is making mistakes to help train them in the future. And it's a really interesting learning style when you're sitting back, watching your kid, letting them or their friends or whatever it is. And as you're going through something, you're supposed to be making the mistakes that you make. And it really kind of flips education on its head. It's really, really interesting.
That right there is the one coolest part of, again, at least my experience with my kids. And when they do use AI, it's the fact that they get that personal attention, that yes, they asked a question, yes, they got a direct answer, but the parts of it they don't understand, it then walks them through what they might have missed and how they can understand. And if they still don't get it, it goes a step further and it breaks it down in a different way. And like look, a great teacher can do that, but a great teacher has 30 other students they have to do that with and doesn't have the time. You can't get this anywhere else. And I think this is something that like an AI agent can uniquely do.
I think that's exactly right. Not only does the teacher have 30 other students, they can't be a personal tutor to every student. A lot of students don't have the resources to then get an external tutor. They just fall behind, right? And so, it's one of those things where it creates a little bit more egalitarianism. It becomes a little bit more affordable and easier for students to learn in their own time, on their own pace.
Right, Drew? It's like pace. It's like, you look in a class, you can only kind of really teach to the pace of the slowest student. Right?
Of the slowest student. So if you have a gifted student, they're going to get bored, right? And you see this all the time in our current education system, where you have brilliant kids who end up dropping out of school, who end up doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing, who end up getting in trouble, having things on their permanent record. They don't get into good universities as a result. Speaking to my own experience here, right? Like I went through this where by the time I reached university, I was already coding on a level that people that were third or fourth year out in the workforce were on, because I just sat there and learned it myself. At the time, it was through books. There weren't really online courses, but there was no way for me to get that education in school. I had to do that on my own. And I'm disciplined enough and I cared about it enough that I would. There's a lot of people who don't. There's also a lot of people whose parents don't have the resources to support them that way. So I think it's really, really important that you have something that every student can learn at their pace. They can catch up. But not only that, students might be able, and this is something that I think we'll find out through Sage and through platforms like Sage, students may be able to learn quicker if you explain it a slightly different way. So one student may grok it when you explain it one way, but another student may be confused. And so if you're able to take that little bit of a fork and explain it a slightly different way, well, then now all of a sudden both students understand it. They came to that understanding in different ways, but they both understand it. Well, a teacher in the classroom can't really do that. They only have a certain number of hours. They've spent all this time planning. They've got this curriculum. They have to go down it. They have to get through their curriculum. My mother was a teacher for 40 years. I saw this happen. She also taught what's called inclusion, which means she would have, a mix of sort of autistic kids, gifted kids, and regular kids, and trying to get them all on the same page. It's impossible. And so the teachers that are able to do it are really, really talented. They're really great. But at the same time, they didn't have anything like this that would help them get to that end goal of having all your students understand what it is you're trying to teach them, coming from very different angles.
Carbon, spot on. Some people visual, some tactical, auditory. This is so interesting. Again, how it can be tailored to the person, to a degree. Any plans, thoughts about kind of bounty system? As in, I really want to learn something about this topic, and I don't see a course for it yet, and I would pay some, whether it's in the Sage token, something you guys have considered.
I think we've talked about it. I think what we're really interested in is just like bringing really great creators and saying like, go for it, like, build courses. And we think that if great courses are being created and consumed, and where there's going to be like a revenue share plus incentive mechanisms, that we think that like the market will kind of take care of itself. But I think that's a great idea. Maybe we add some sort of like forum where people can put requests up. But I'd say is like, Sage, you don't really need to do a request, right? Because if you don't see a course, something you want, you just start interacting with Sage, and you don't have to be a professional teacher to make a course. You tell it what you want to learn, why you want to learn it, how you want to learn it, and Sage will just create that course for you.
Oh, wow.
Right? Module by module.
Okay, that's a big unlock right now. Okay, wow.
Right, so you don't need to ask. You just ask Sage.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. You don't need to wait for somebody else to create that course for you.
That's
so if you get there and there's not a course that you want, you just start building that course yourself, and you take that course as you go along, and you can interact with it, say, hey, I didn't really understand it when you explained it this way, and it'll recreate that module and explain it in a different way. You can dive deeper into specific topics. You can say, hey, this seems like it's something that's really, really important. I want to go deeper into this. And you can kind of fork off the path, the initial path that Sage creates for you to get to the custom learning experience that you need. So that's really kind of the core beauty. So as Wes mentioned, like, we've thought about these things, like whether it's like creator incentives and all of that, and we want to have that because we do think that there's value in letting people that are really good at creating these courses monetize those courses. But if there's something that you don't see there, you don't need to wait for some creator to create that course. You just start going, and maybe you build a course that other people love and want to take, and now you can monetize it as well. So not only do you get to learn, you get to become the teacher as well.
Yeah. Again, blown away. Actually, every few minutes, there's just another unlock, and I'm getting it. And I'm like, wow. I want to rapid fire just 2 more questions. I want to be respectful of time. And then I know you're doing your, I think an AMA or Q&A like next week, and I'll save some questions there, either put them in the chat or whatever. But okay, 2 things. Hallucinations, we're going to get all this great information from the agents here and through these modules, and we all know that hallucinations are a problem. Like, AI does like to invent things. It's predictive. How do you prevent against that?
It's a great question. Actually, Wes and I were just having this conversation yesterday. That's also one of the beauties of it being interactive, right? It may hallucinate. I mean, look, we see it all the time, whether you're using, a vibe coding app or whether you're just using ChatGPT and asking a question. Like, sometimes LLMs can be a little bit sycophantish. They can hallucinate. They don't like to disappoint you. So one of the beauties of it being interactive is if you get something back that you're just like, yeah, this doesn't make any sense, you can interact with it until it's kind of course correct, right? The other thing is that, so there's 2 real big components of hallucinations, like especially in sort of state-of-the-art LLMs. Right now, context poisoning, like when you have way too much context, when it's way too large of a chat, that's when you really start to see those hallucinations occur. And then the second thing is, if you don't have custom knowledge base and you're just relying on the LLM's existed, like the data it was trained on, that's when you're going to start to see lots of hallucinations. So the way that we solve for that, and we're not saying that 100% of the time it's going to be perfect, there will still be hallucinations. That's one of the benefits of it being interactive. But the way that we reduce the number of hallucinations is custom knowledge bases. where the Sage agent goes out and gathers the knowledge. You can also give it custom knowledge if you've read a blog article or ARXIV article, or there's a website that you really like or documentation you really like. You can include that in your request to ensure that Sage is using the data that you want for your knowledge base. And then the other thing is breaking down the context. So Wes mentioned earlier, it doesn't just spit out all the modules in the entire course all at once and like poison its own context. You're doing bite-sized modules. So I don't know if anybody here has ever used like Duolingo or any of these, or like a Blinkist, where you're getting kind of these bite-sized 10 to 15 minute readings. That's how we've really designed this. There's a lot of evidence that shows that people end up comprehending the information a lot more when it's smaller amounts of information that are reinforced over multiple lessons. So we've designed it to be, very, very context aware and keep that context relatively small. So you don't end up with context poisoning. You don't end up with hallucinations. And then you have long-term storage where the previous context is stored. We can always refer back to it. You have memory. So the session memory, what you were already working on is known and it can be referred back to. And then you have custom knowledge bases where you can either go out and gather that knowledge through deep research, or you can provide custom knowledge bases. And those things really reduce the number of hallucinations you're going to get and the worst kind of hallucinations. That said, you're still going to get some, and that's why it has to be interactive. You can't just let it go out and do its own thing and build the entire course. You're going to need to interact with it. And that's why building this in a way to where we kind of empower the creators to create the courses. And now you have a course that's on this particular subject that's been refined already. Now, maybe you need to fork off it a little bit to really understand it, but the core of it is kind of there already and has been vetted and built by a human in the loop that kind of interacted with Sage to get to an end product that's really high quality.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that really covers a lot. We have another call on the hour, so we got to take any kind of final questions, but
yep.
we kind of
we'll wrap right there. But if there's any final points that we didn't touch on that are just super important that you want to make sure people know, now's the time.
No, I think that we covered a lot. We appreciate the time and hopping on with us. Always happy to chat more, and yeah, we're super excited about everything coming down the pipe.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we're rooting for you hard. We'll be streaming right along with your launch here coming up on Wednesday and rooting for you. And we'll be at the AMA just listening in at the very least. But this is awesome. One of the most mature projects I've seen come into virtuals yet with that product market fit, like something different here. So kudos to you guys.
Is this recorded, by the way?
Yeah, it is. It's on.
We'll share it also. And
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get some stuff chopped up too, but I want to say thank you to you guys. You guys are really, really awesome. Really love what you're building. Guys, you can follow them at Sage to Learn over on X. And then again, find their Genesis launch page over on virtuals. Just get caught up, and we'll be talking about it a lot over the coming days. So we're not done here, but thank you again to you guys. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.
Cheers.
Awesome. Peace, guys.